Alrighty, good morning everybody. Happy Friday. It's June 24th, 2022, and we're going to go ahead and get started here on the pre-market analysis. What I'd like to do is go back and just show you what happened on Thursday, yesterday. I was not here to call any trades or anything. We did run the trade room so everyone could watch the charts, but I was not there, so it was very, very sideways and choppy all throughout the open. Let's see, the market opened right here on the left-hand side of the chart and just kind of went back and forth for quite a while. So doesn't look like there was anything too sexy going on until the market started to sell off and came right into our holy orange power level and bounced right off. So we got a beautiful reaction right off of the orange power level that led to, let's see here, 37.56 to 69. So for a 14 point bounce right into our 200 moving average. And you can see there was a test of the level, but just not enough strength. And then they went ahead and sold off even lower until the market got to 50% of the day before. When the market got down there, you can see a lot of support. And eventually, the bulls went ahead and started ripping things higher. So they held, first they held the OPL, but there wasn't enough follow through to break out through the 200. Then they came down right into the 50% level and really couldn't break through that and then started to push higher. And you can see it came right to 37.82, pulled back right to 37.74 half like magic. It bounced around inside of there until it went ahead and broke out to the upside and came right to the high of the day before. So it came right up to the high of the day before, pulled back right to the 200, bounced off that, and then at the end of the day, they came down and not only did they use 37.82 as a resistance midday there, but at the end of the day, they came right to 37.82 and bounced out off of there. So really nice reactions there. And then in the overnight session coming into this morning, you can see the bears tried to hold us below or hold the market below the 200 there, but then came right back to 37.82. Could not break it by more than 3 ticks there, and then started ripping it higher here. Brought the market up, and then this is another interesting little thing, just like earlier, where was it? Where we came up into 37.82 and then pulled back to 37.74 half and then bounced out. Well, in the overnight session, we came up right to 38.12, pulled back right to 38.07. There was a little probe through, but not by more than 5 ticks. Came up and then held 38.07 quarter, our other minor level there, and then pushed right to 38.22. A little probe through it by again a few ticks, and then pulled back, held the fast moving average. And then you can see in the overnight here, for the last few hours, it's been trending higher, but it's been a little bit sideways here. And that's where we find ourselves coming into the open right now. We are pushing to new highs and holding at the moment above the OPL for this morning. So let's go ahead and jump up to our daily chart and see what new things we can eke out of the chart here. So again, that bullish divergence we were watching for about 4 or 5 days now has led to this push that I told you we would expect from the pattern we saw. So everything is working out as expected. Of course, the question was going to be, how far can the bulls get in the context of such a heavy market? And so far, we've been pushing pretty strong, and we're about to come up and test not the high of last week, because technically the high of last week was up here around the gap, but one of the major highs of last week up here at 38.43 is exactly where we're pushing up to test right now. And on the daily chart, if you look at what's going on here, we're pushing up to come up and test this major high from last week, but the RVI is lower compared to where we are right now. So what we have is a lower push in price, but a much higher push in RVI. So there's technically a divergence forming here on the daily again. So if the market cannot break through the high, this major high from last week, or if they just kind of come up and get a little peek through it and then fail back below, we very well could see a nice clean daily bearish divergence up here. And if that lines up with the 4-hour and the hourly, we could just see this fail from here for at least a test of the low of last week. So that's one little thing I'm seeing. Remember, once we get through that high and the price pushes up through there, we won't have that signal anymore. But if it doesn't, we will have it, and it could potentially hold again for a test back lower. So I'm just watching and monitoring that, and we'll see what happens this morning. Again, with all the bullish signals, we could be breaking out here to come up and test some of these more major fib levels up above us. So I think that's all I have to say from this zoomed out perspective. Let's go ahead and jump down now. I just want to go to the 4-hour just to see if there are any clear signals. And really nothing going on. Remember, yesterday we said we had a 4-hour and hourly bearish signal from the high of the day before. And so we were going to have to see, once they pulled back, we did get a bullish signal on the hourly. We had to see who was going to win out yesterday. Were the bulls going to hold the overnight lows, come up and break through that multiple time frame bearish signal, or was that signal going to end up holding out and we were going to get a deeper sell-off? And what ended up happening was the bulls held the market up and pushed through that multiple time frame signal. And right now on the 4-hour, I don't really see any strong signals right now. You could argue that again from that high of last week to where we are now, we're lower in price, but way higher on the RVI. But nothing really too clean going on right now on the 4-hour. So unlike yesterday and the day before where we did have a nice clean 4-hour signal in conjunction with the hourly, etc. So this morning I don't necessarily see anything too sexy going on there. I mean, again, you can go all the way back to all these previous highs and notice, and this one as well, all the way up here, we've pushed much lower in price and RVI's pushed much higher. But again, it's just a little too far for me to have confidence in. And then all this might mean is that we're pushing out of the bear range. Remember, 60 to 20 is the bear range here. Looks like we might just be breaking out, coming back up into that 40 to 80 bullish section of the RVI. So we'll see what happens here this morning. The 4-hour is really not giving me anything too clear outside of, again, kind of traversing up into a stronger part of the RVI range. And let's go down to our hourly and take a look at the levels we're going to be trading with this morning. So we'll get into all the stuff going on down below here between the low of last week and our high of our overnight session here. But I just want to quickly mention up above us, all the same levels. So if we get above the highs here of the overnight session, we can get through that major high from last week. We've still got 38.53 and then the major retracement up around 38.55 that we want to be aware of. Let me go back to this swing. This swing as well, this shaded area, still relevant here coming into today. So I know things are close together, but that's just how it is sometimes. So we have this pocket here, but if they do push to 57.5 to 58.5, that's also a pocket that to me would make sense. So watch out for that, and then we're right to 38.75, and then the beginning of the gap that we created coming into this week. And from there, I don't know if it really makes sense to continue to talk about all this stuff up top, but we do have the gap itself from 38.78 to about 38.96. And then if the bulls continue to go through there, remember, coming up to fill that gap is not a surprising thing. So if they do come up and fill it, we do have a pretty strong area here around 39.1650 up into the next retracement level up around 39.22. And then from there, it's going to be bringing us back into that 39.40 to 50 pocket, and then the 61.8 retracement of the sell-off with our major eye level here at 39.84 up to about 39.88. So those are some of the levels up above. That would bring us another 150, 160 points higher. Not out of the realm of possibility, especially in this kind of market, to see a 100, 200 point push in one day. So be aware of that stuff up top. On the other side of things, I will just quickly mention we've got the two minor eye levels, which I think we essentially came down and used here, although it wasn't a nice clean test. But we do have 25 and 33 down here, and then the major level at 36.12.5. So be aware of that, and then if they continue to violently sell off, and remember, we're up at 3,800. So that's another 200 points lower. Typically, we're not seeing gigantic 300, 400 point sell-offs, but you never know. Just be aware at 36.12.5, 35.87, 35.34, 35.25, 34.89 half, and 34.65. And that would be an absolutely insane push. I doubt anything like that would happen, but we've got the levels there. So now I want to talk about all this stuff between the low of last week and the high we're making right now. So we're going to zoom down into the 10-minute chart. And actually, let me quickly just mention here, from the zoomed out perspective, we do have the major fib leg from the low of last week, 36.39, all the way up to our high here. And if we end up pushing through the overnight high, our three major retracement levels I have drawn are going to change. So there's a caveat to some of the levels on the chart. If we continue to push, we're going to have to redraw the major fib lines you see on the chart right now. But for the time being, and it looks like we're probably going to break out, but for the time being, we have the 38, 50, and 61 of the major push up from the major low, basically the low of the year. And then we have the fib from the low of yesterday up to the overnight high. And again, if we continue to push here, we might have to actually redraw this fib and the larger fib. But for now, we've got the smaller fib legs here, right around 37.96, right around 37.84 half, and then right around 37.73. And I went ahead and shaded in this little section here, 37.82 to 84, 37.73 to 74 half. Two little pockets that line up with some other things. And then if we do end up pulling back here, and I'm probably going to talk about this, I'll talk about it on the 10. So pulling down into the 38 of the larger leg is 37.59, 37.36, and 37.13. Outside of those fib legs, we do have this shaded area. Remember, we've been watching 37, let's call it 24 half to 25 half right there. I was actually toying with making this a new minor level, but we do have that going on right there, 24 half to 25 half, and then we have the major and minor level. So 37.09, 36.90, 36.81, 36.62, and 36.33. So let me go to the 10-minute. I don't know if there will be too much more going on, but let's take a look. Let's zoom into this last day of price action. So the close of yesterday happens to also be one of those minor fib legs that we were looking around 37.84 half here. So nice confluence right there also with our minor eye level. And the high of yesterday at 38.0575, it was also the high of the day before at 38.05 half, which I went ahead and marked here as a major swing high. that we could find support on if we pull back. So be aware of that level there. And then 50% of yesterday is just about that 61.8 retrace and our major eye level here. So that's 37.70 half. Hey, 37.70 half was one of our minor eye levels that I ended up getting rid of. But it turns out it is 50% of the day before. So be aware of that. And that's really it. We do have these two minor levels here, which again, in the beginning of the pre-market, we talked about pushing right to 38.12, pulling back to 38.06, I believe, bouncing and then pulling back right to 07 quarter and ripping out of there. So those two levels are very, very important. We could see reaction from there, and then remember the high of the day before and the day before that, right around that level. So we've got that stuff up there, and not much else to say here other than things are looking pretty strong, right? Because we did have that multiple time frame bullish signal from last Friday's low, including the higher time frames, well, we were expecting this push. I would think that filling the gap wouldn't be too far out of the possibility for what could happen here this morning. But remember, anything's possible. We're just going to be trading whatever the market's doing. So if they don't continue to rip here and we get some type of failure, then we'll be targeting these levels down below. So that wraps things up for the week here. To those watching on YouTube, have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. And I think that's it. So we'll see everybody then.